So I've ended up accidentally hiking on a river trail in the dead heat of Texas, but it reminded me of Sharia, and that's because Sharia actually means a path leading to water, so it's actually quite appropriate. I think a lot of the criticism in the West about Sharia comes from a lack of understanding. They maybe only think about punishments, and even that they don't understand that well. Sharia is a type of government, right? So all the rules in it that are governmental in nature can only be applied by a legitimate government. And even then, it doesn't apply to non-Muslims. Like in Malaysia, they have a Sharia court for Muslims and a non-Sharia court for non-Muslims. Some of the punishments that people really get offended on are like apostasy, for example. And people don't seem to understand why that's a bad thing, right? From the Islamic perspective, Islam is the path to heaven. And so if a person kills somebody, murders, then the punishment for that is death, right? Capital punishment. Life for a life, right? But that affects the murdered individual in this world, right? And maybe it affects his lineage and has long-term effects. But at the end of the day, it affects him in this world. If you take someone who's going to heaven and you make them leave that path and end up in hell, that's significantly worse than getting murdered, right? And so the Sharia applies the same rule for capital punishment for someone who ruins someone's afterlife, right? And it's a fair punishment because that's a big crime. Now, what the Sharia does, which is really interesting, is that there's a paper rule name, and then there's all the rules that go into applying it. So, for example, this rule is called the rule of apostasy because it's meant to discourage people from leaving Islam and ultimately ruining their afterlife. But in practice, how do you establish someone's faith? You can't open up their heart and see. Like, they literally have to kind of admit it to you, right? And so what ends up happening is it's either someone who is like really public about hating Islam and things like that, and they're calling people to disobey the government, which is a Muslim government, right? And that's called insurgency, and it's punishable by death in any country. Or it's someone who just really, really wants to die, because you could just take shahada right away and no one would question you, right? Or you could just lie and say, no, you're actually Muslim, and no one would know. So in practice, it's very hard to actually punish someone for apostasy. But if someone does get punished, they get punished in public. So that all those other people who are thinking about apostasy get discouraged. And this is how Islam prevents crime before it ever happens. We finally made it.